Hello. How you doing, Chris? How are you, brother? Good to have you. Uh, do you hear okay? Because I know there's a lot of noise around me. Do you, let's see what we can do here. What's up, Xander? Sarah. Beautiful. This is a simple one. I'm gonna test these headphones as well. How are you, brother? Can you hear me okay, or does that sound? Or there's a lot of noise. Wait. Oh, the camera is focusing on the mic. Oh, weird. I thought it was like focusing on the mic more than it focuses on me. Okay, I'm going to test these real quick. Let's see what we can discern from this. Oh, interesting. Aha. Boom. Opa. Okay. Let's see if I can hear something in the Zoom meeting was great. I can send you a recording if you want. It was really nice, actually. I wish you would with us. I wish you were with us. Let's do this. What's up, Terry? How are you, brother? Power off, Inky. Thank you for joining from Twitch. Welcome everybody on this side. Actually, let me just move here. Boom, and then move this here. I think we should. You guys can hear me, okay, right? Amazing. Okay, yeah, I see you saying yes. If you guys want to follow us from Twitch, it'll be LaserX83. And let me just see that I hear things. I'm gonna play something for myself. Yes. By the way, can you guys hear the music playing right now when I'm playing it like this without sharing the screen? I'm doing great, brother. Let's see. Ah, there. Perfect. Okay, perfect. Now I know what the parameters are. Amanda is in the house. How are you doing? There's these are might be too big for me, but it's okay. It works. Yeah. The music is in my headphones. That's why I was trying to check. So this is I don't know how this is in terms of a look. Right now it helps me because there's a lot of noise around me, so I'm going to be wearing it. But usually I'm not going to be wearing those. I just wanted to see if I can just actually use these to hear things. Let's do this again. Hold on. So this goes here. Okay, and then okay. Well, I think it's enough of me getting settled. Let's put it this way. They have a left or right, doesn't matter. I don't think it matters. Great. Wait. Why do I hear the weird noise now? Wait. I hear a weird noise. But strange. Anyway. Anywho. There we go. Now I feel like a real gamer or a streamer or something. What's up, the mine? Kyra, Katerina, Kirosna. The mind is saying you're probably hearing the temporal flux interfering with the technology when they show up. That's probably what it is. Most likely. I know there's a lot of noise in the background. Sorry, Amanda. I know it's not optimal today. If you want to hear more clearly, you might go to YouTube where there's a noise cancellation function. Boo, TikTok. Boo. Another reason you're failing. Boo. I wonder if they flag you for this. If you just keep going, boo, TikTok. Boo. The mic is not working. No, the mic is not for you. You know why? Because boo, TikTok, boo. That's why. If you want to hear the mic, come to YouTube. YouTube is the best. I wonder how many times do you need to say YouTube is the best on TikTok before you get canceled by TikTok? YouTube is the best. In comparison to TikTok, it's the best thing that ever happened to humanity. TikTok is the absolute worst thing ever happened to humanity. YouTube is so much better. It's so much better. It's so much better. Everything is better than TikTok. Everything. Today I was walking and I saw the juice, that spills from the trash bags when it's been sitting there for a really long time. That is better than TikTok. TikTok is the absolute worst. They're just agents showing up on my doorstep. Boo, TikTok. We just do this every once in a while. I should do like a like in a radio they have like sound effects. Boo, boo, boo. We should have a boo, TikTok, boo. it's went to one person on TikTok. Chris just gifted 5 memberships. Love you, brother. Thank you so much. Deeply appreciated. Yo, Jan is in the house. How you doing, brother? Thank you so much, Chris. 5 people just gifted memberships on YouTube. If you want that to potentially happen to you, come join us on YouTube. Dango Thoughts, DANGO Thoughts, and you might get a gift sometimes by our beautiful moderators that I deeply, deeply, deeply appreciate. And if not, you can always join yourself. It's not that expensive, and it gives you access to early access to all my content. Today, I published a conversation with Andrew Gallimore. It is going to be available for members only for a week. So if you want to see it today, go join the membership. Come join the membership program. It includes weekly lives aside from the daily lives. My beard going crazy. It's available for everybody. Don't worry, you don't have to be a member to see my beard doing crazy shit sometimes. So that's available for free for anybody who's looking at me. But if you want to get early access to all my content, weekly access to weekly lives, aside from the daily lives, which usually happen on Sunday, in which we dive deeper into subjects and things like this, come join a membership on YouTube. Also, it includes from the 2nd tier and up, it includes Zoom calls with me, one of which we had today, and it was lovely, lovely, lovely. I really love these conversations. It was really nice. Jan sent me a voice message a few weeks ago. We should talk live one day. Where did you send me a voice message? That's a very general statement, Jan. Boo, TikTok, boo. What's up, Jessica? You like the windows? I like the windows too. Facebook, brother. I do not check Facebook Messenger. I will not hear it. I'm sorry. So if you want, you can. I'm gonna try and go and find it. There's just so many messages. I can try and find it, but yeah, that's the worst address. If you, the best way to get a hold of me is my email, lasersimulationx@gmail.com, lasersimulationx@gmail.com, and or Discord. So anybody who's not on our Discord, come join our Discord. We have a lovely community there. You can find the links both in the link tree on TikTok and on YouTube. And if you want to talk to me, you can always come on here and talk to me on TikTok, or call me through Discord and I can play you for everybody to hear. I think I don't need this because also my crazy hair also available for everybody free of charge. As long as you have a pair of eyes, you can get my weird beard and weird hair doing weird things for free. Absolutely free of charge. So first of all, if you guys want to follow along what we're doing on codeofreality.com, you'll be here. We have one listener on TikTok. I think it is related. If it is the case that TikTok suppresses your messages if you talk shit about them, even more, boo, TikTok, boo. You are the worst. You are the worstest. That's the song about TikTok. You know the little white thing that happens to people when they talk for too long and their lips dry and it just like it's in the corner of their mouth and it's like really bothers you and you can't really tell them about it. It's like this, like, oh come on, man, and you can't say anything. That's better than TikTok. That is better than TikTok. TikTok is worse than that. Let's see what we can approach. Jessica, welcome. So good to see you. Another reason to be on YouTube, exactly. What if you could drop a link for the membership? I can do that now. Yeah, you can just click on the thing and you can just join the membership. I'm sure there's a button for that. Thank you, Fixer Sid. Power Off is asking, what are your thoughts on how to go about seeing the console I keep hearing about? I have no idea. It just appeared for me. And Casey recently told me that he has one that appeared for him. A few other people told me about this, but I don't have a way to know if it's the same thing. But I do think that it just kind of appears for people sometimes. The Mind, did you find a button? You are universal consciousness? Well, then you're already in the club. Come join our Twitch, LaserX83. LaserX83 on Twitch. Come follow us on Twitch right now. It will really, really help. At which point I saw backwards and forward into time, and I was able to see all of the dimensions stacked on top of each other, vertically and horizontally. Well, that sounds amazing. You're live on Twitch, and I can't gift you some subs. I know, but you can do it on YouTube. I did see some aliens in the spaceship, and they did not like that I was looking at them. They did press a button, and after they did that, I went back into my body and I stopped hallucinating. Beautiful. Thank you for the story. I want to gift some subs on Twitch, but I can't. I don't think I have subs on Twitch. I don't think also it will make any difference because Twitch is not really a very evolved channel currently. And most of the perks are on YouTube. Maybe I should do some perks on Twitch, but I'm not familiar with it enough. So if you guys want, come to YouTube and we'll do it here. There's 2 people on TikTok. That's way too many. So Boo, TikTok, boo. Let's drop to one person again. What's up, Camibel? Or Camibel? Tell you what I did again. I don't know what that means. Good. Mickey Manage. Also, TikTok is lying because there's no way there's only one person. Now there's 4. Now there's 3. Good numbers. We're getting good numbers on TikTok. Wait, Kyra is referring to something. Weird is always the way to go. I would agree with that. And what's sad is it didn't used to suck so bad. Huh? Charlie! I will add a gift to. I don't know if I can because if you guys want to help Twitch, go join it so I can join the higher ranked whatever it is on Twitch. So I can probably add all these blows and whistles. So thank you for letting me know though that that's possible. What is your wildest vision of 20, 30, or 40 years from now where humanity has advanced in their understanding of the core? We have populated the solar system and then the galaxy and then multiple galaxies, including the inner spaces. So we go into our inner space, collect information, and utilize it to go beyond and connect everything and make everything beautiful and decorate Christmas trees and twinkle stars all over the universe. Aliens are the moderators, exactly. I can't edit Fixer Sid. Fixar Sid. Oh, Fixer Acid. Okay. Fixer Acid. I can't add it until I get a certain level. And that's why you guys are helping me to do. I don't know why it's not achieving it yet, because right now I already was supposed to have the. If I go to creators, yeah, we've definitely had, like, we had 7 viewers last time. I mean, I'm already supposed to. I think I'm supposed to have the thing, but for some reason it's just not appearing. So I don't know what to do with that. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Let's see. Stream manager. Streaming right now. We have people. 120. One viewer. Why does it say one viewer? That's not true. Do we have only one viewer on Twitch right now? Let's see. I'm live. Okay. I wish I would know how to operate better on Twitch. Stream manager. Where do I go into the channel? Okay. Analyzer. Turn viewers into superfans with interactive extensions. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm missing a few accolades before I can do any of this. Man, Twitch has so many blows and whistles. Crazy. Crazy. No wonder. I mean, it's designed for gamers, right? Chew, man. That is wild. I literally get lost in the. It's so crazy. There's so many different things, man. Yeah, I just need to put more attention on catering to it and then figuring out how to do everything. Games today, blah 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 blah. Notifications. Get bits, whispers. Yeah, I don't know. I will figure it out. In any case, come join us on Twitch. It will help the channel for sure. Welcome to mine. Thank you for becoming a member. Appreciate you. And don't forget that on Sunday we have weekly lives that are added on top of the daily lives. And you can watch the Andrew Gallimore episode right now. Don't go now. Sizzle? What is the sizzle? Four viewers on Twitch? Well, that's better than one. Thank you for the support. Indeed, I second Ebony. Explain what do you do with the laser thingy? You project it on a wall, and you smoke the spirit molecule, and you see the code. It's that simple. The details are in all the videos that I've ever released. You the one that's on the code in lasers. I've seen 15 years ago when I pointed a laser to my CD and reflected on my wall. Interesting. So as far as we know, it actually doesn't work with a laser pointer. But maybe actually projecting it on a CD might work. So the laser has to be diffracted. But then again, on a CD, it refracts. So it might be something interesting to figure out. So if you want to send me an email to lasersimulationx@gmail.com with this idea, if this idea pans out, I'll definitely give you the credit for pointing that out. Yab is in the house. How are you, brother? Haven't seen you in a while. Hello from my myopic brother. That is kind of cool. What's up, Dread Pirate? 3 lines, wide ones. Okay, we'll try this. Are there any core messages that are consistent we are supposed to learn? You mean in the code? In the code, I don't know if there's any messages that we can discern currently, but it is something that we are currently working on to see if that we can discern any discernible information. I would say the messages from the space are the same ones you would expect, which is lead a good life, focus on the good path, the middle path, and try and be positive. You have a saying, hanging in there. You want to come on and talk about it, brother? What's going on? I just saw today a video of you on YouTube for the first time. Well, and now we're here. So welcome. Yeah, if you want to come and chat about it, brother? Let's see. I'll send you an invite, and if you want, you can always accept. How you doing, man? How are you doing? Oh, wait. I gotta hold on. Stop. I gotta unplug the mic because then I forgot that people can't hear you on YouTube. 1 second. And because I have the mic is now audio, MacBook speaker. Boom. Can you guys hear me? Yes. Okay. 1 second. Grabbing my coffee.
All right. I will answer random chat questions randomly while Danny's away. Let's see. So chat, how I had you gripping sheets last night. Interesting. Tell us about the third time. Number one.
Yeah. So by the way, are you receiving the invites to our Zoom calls? Yep.
I maybe. Well, my phones might be receiving them, but I haven't seen those.
Well, then I'm gonna point it out to you next time because we have really lively discussions on Zoom. Today we had one, and it was really great, and we were analyzing some really fun things.
Okay, is it on Telegram?
No, it's on Zoom. No, the thing I'm sending on email, but I will make sure.
The email.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, how I've been doing is
Nico,
that
how are you?
not only I'm not taking calls anymore, but email is now a problem because it's just so flooded with spam.
Here's what you do. You start a new email.
Metal in your coffee cup?
What?
Did you have a metal bit in your coffee?
Why not? You don't drink metal with coffee? No, it's ice. I put ice in the coffee so I can chug it.
Dude, let's start a new trend. Metal with coffee.
Metal coffee. Nico is asking you, how was Kill Tony? What's up, Nico?
Oh my god, Nico. Dude, I totally didn't. I like ADHD'd on that thing. I haven't gone yet. But in my defense, I need to tell you this. I just came back from a retreat.
Which one?
And it was for half Jewish, half Jewish couples. Let's put it this way.
Half Jewish.
Sometimes it was that one person was Jewish and the other was not. Sometimes it was just like both people were like a quarter Jewish or something.
Okay.
Some were just bad Jews. But the point, yeah, but it was, as a retreat, what was amazing about it was they took like 20 couples from, and they brought them to Santa Fe.
Okay.
Santa Fe is great and the retreat was great, blah, blah. But the couples were all from Chicago. So when we all went back to Chicago, it was like an instant like community, basically. And they do that a lot. Like they do something like that. They take people in New York and then take them to Santa Fe, bring them back to New York. Same with San Francisco. So I did that. That was great. Then, for a week, there were like 6 medical emergencies in my family.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. But everything got resolved. But like with all the emergencies, this was like nothing like that has happened in the last 5 years. Not a single thing like that has happened. And then all of them happened in 1 week. Like, speaking of synchronicities, right? What is up with that?
I know 2 people that passed away this week that we're just coming to the end of.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Sorry.
No, I
But
mean,
yeah. When it rains, it pours, and for sure, and things do come in threes or some other quantum number.
So what is so just like kind of going through a lot of the stuff, like a big storm basically is what you're saying that you had to overcome.
Yeah. And just like right now coming out.
Well, we would love to have you as part of our discussions, and there was a lot of fun ones. So I'm glad that we see you and we hear from you. How's Chicago these days?
Chicago's pretty hot. Oh, I wish you could see Moose is right here. You know Moose, the dog.
Yes.
So he got into the gummies this morning. So that's another thing that's going on. Add that to a 7th emergency. I'm not worried because he's done that before. But he is incapacitated. I'm waiting for Nikki to come home so she can like watch over him so that I can step away for a second. So that's also going on.
Yeah. Wow. Also I mean, your dog just ate gummies, what you're saying?
Yeah.
That's wild.
My mistake. I left them I only left them in the center of a kitchen counter, but he still managed to jump up somehow and paw at them.
To your question to mine, you either have to come on TikTok to Danny Goller, or come to Discord to our community and then find me there, Dango83, and then you can send me a message there. Sought the Wave wants to come on. Let's see what he has to say. 1 second. How you doing, man?
How are you, Danny?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. My name is Jamal, by the way.
Oh, nice to meet you, brother. Cool.
So I actually saw you today on YouTube. You were talking about some laser. I don't know what you can talk about here in TikTok, but it's so crazy. And just just by chance, your channel came up on TikTok. It's actually quite crazy. If you think about it, like it's my TikTok account isn't connected to YouTube at all. So
Oh, but your phone is.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah. No, that's a real thing, man. That's a real thing.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. No,
I found it really interesting though. Like, how did you get into that? Like, how did you kind of fall into that?
That's a very long story that spent over 8 years or so, and that's why we're shooting a documentary about it. So by the end of the year, there's going to be a whole documentary going literally step by step. But the short version of that is that I was just trying to figure out if we can prove that the DMT space is real, or as we say on this channel, the molecule space is real, and thinking about it from first principles. And eventually this idea came about. But it was quite a long process actually. What you said you saw me on YouTube? What show? On what?
I searched. Let me try to track back. I searched like the laser, because I saw a clip. I think I saw a clip on TikTok. Someone saying that if you look at the laser after taking DMT, like you will see code.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's the reason, because you're the only one that maybe talks about this, or like maybe one of the most prominent ones. I'm not sure.
Well, I'm the discoverer of the phenomena, so a lot of people are talking about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Are you like primarily a filmmaker, or are you more like, like an explorer? Or
I was in the film industry for a long time. I'm now kind of like doing this more full time every day because we have an organization that studies this. But I guess I discovered it because my mind was always in the business of investigating reality in a semi-serious way, and then paying attention to certain things that I feel that others weren't paying attention to is what I believe led me to that understanding.
Okay. Where are you guys based? Are you in the States or in Europe? Or
we're in the States, yeah. Where are you based?
I am in Portugal. I'm originally from Norway, but I moved like half a year ago. I moved to Portugal.
Everybody are moving to Portugal, man. We have some good listeners from there, and
that's serious.
A couple good friends. Yeah, everybody are moving to Portugal. I hear great things.
Yeah.
And I've been to Norway.
I'm quite sure. I've just lived there for 6 months. So
I've been to Norway. Beautiful place. We've been there in the winter from all time. So we know that the Snow Kingdom.
Which country? Which city?
Very close to what's the capital?
Oslo.
Very close to Oslo. Maybe 35 minutes out. We have good friends there. Irelis and her boyfriend Friedrich. So they, so we went to explore, and it was a beautiful experience. And they have a couple of llamas, which is very interesting. Apparently, that's a thing. I did
llamas.
Not. Yeah, they explained to us that sometimes in Norway people give them as wedding gifts, and I'm like, what? They said exactly. And then and then you're kind of stuck with these animals there, which is like kind of interesting.
They must have been imported. That's cool.
Well, yeah, of course they're important, but like apparently it's a thing in Norway, according to what they explained. There's like a phenomenon of people like giving them as gifts. There you go. Yeah.
Did you enjoy it? Did you like it?
Oh, I loved it. It was lovely.
Yeah.
It was lovely. Yeah. You moved because of work, or you just wanted to change in life, or what made you move?
I used to own a bar. I've owned like 3 different bars actually, and I just sold them just before New Year. So I just sold them, and
Well,
so I've been like thinking about starting something new, but like right now I'm just kind of been unwinding actually. Like I've just kind of been, because the working in a bar, it's kind of there's a lot of things happening. It's a lot of things to process, and after I got rid of it, it's just been like a long time just to unwind in a way. Just
Well, I mean, it sounds pretty lovely. It sounds like you're taking it easy and you're just chilling these days.
Yeah. It's good. It's good.
Amazing. Did you anything that you wanted to chat specifically about? And also, yeah, I know, Nico. I know.
was just kind of, I was just curious. I just found the whole incident strange. Like it just came up your channel and see like, okay, there's like 5 watching. I just searched earlier on YouTube, and it just like my mind just couldn't put the puzzle together. So I just had to. And I also found the thing very interesting because like the way you talk about it, you don't come across as like.
A crackpot.
Like a crazy person, like you seem down to earth, you understand? Like so when I saw you, I was like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what creates some of the appeal, aside from the fact that anybody can replicate this. And it is interesting because the TikTok is by no means our kind of like our main. I'm streaming right now also on YouTube and on X and on Twitch, and I think by far TikTok is our lowest rated, like in terms of like engagement with the live. Yeah, so it's kind of strange that it came on your TikTok, but we're giving TikTok its due because we started there. In terms of being noticed more and more, I guess. And also, again, Nico, I do know that llamas are Peruvian, but also I actually don't remember if those are alpacas or llamas, but one of them. But for sure, they told us, at least what they told us, is that does happen in Norway, where people just gift it as a wedding gift, and I'm like, what's the what? And they said, yeah, exactly. Literally, they said, yeah, exactly. But it happens a lot. So I'm like, okay, weird. Yeah. So yeah, man. Well, I'm glad that you're joining us. And what would you say, especially because you kind of like sounds like you're just kind of taking your time and reassessing everything. What would be that thing that you feel that if you would engage with it from now on would make you happy? Like, what would be that one thing that you would want to engage with for the rest of your life that would make you truly happy?
I think I could have answered that question before, but right now I'm not sure.
That's a good answer. That's the thing you're looking for.
When I was younger, I was like the guy asking people, like, if you had $1 million, like, what would you do? Like I was hyper motivated and really kind of, but I don't know. Like I am close to 50. I am like 48 now, and I'm not sure if everyone becomes like this in this age. I don't think they do, but I've just gone through some things, and I don't know, man. Like ambition, like in a normal sense, just it doesn't really click with me anymore, right?
Interesting. So the reason I'm asking is not to kind of have this. It is a nice question to ask in a little get together because it kind of gets the thing going, right? It kind of moves the juices around. I'm more asking in the sense that because you said that you kind of taking your time right now, and it sounds like you can afford to do that. So it's the fact that you can just take your time and do that because you're actively doing that. That's one. So you're kind of already in that position. So you actually get to ask the question seriously. And we are in this pivotal moment in humanity that truly even though a lot of people like to complain about it in current times, we truly live in the most magnificent time you can possibly imagine. You can basically have access to anything you can imagine, have all the access to the information you can possibly imagine. You can go to any place in the world for relatively cheap. You can literally do anything. And this is why I'm asking, because I feel like you're kind of there. Like you really get to make this choice for real. So that's, I guess that was what the question was stemming from.
No, it's fine. It's a very good question. And the craziest thing is, the thing you're saying is actually right. It's actually more right than you understand. Like if I knew I would be here when I was younger, I would be so happy. Like the freedom that I have, you don't understand. Like I have more freedom than most people. And I also have the resources, but I don't have the same, I don't have the same thing. And I think it's because I've experienced a few things that kind of, you understand? It's like, I mean, a good example is like if you were in a marriage and you were like doing everything to keep the marriage together, you getting like buying things for your children, and then suddenly you find out, hey, you're not the father, and the wife is leaving you. You understand?
Wow, man.
It's like,
Yeah, the rug was pulled under your feet.
yeah, in a way, but but there's a lot of things that happen. So that's my situation. So
Are you comfortable with the idea, even if theoretically, that this kind of stuff happens to a lot of people right now, specifically for a very particular reason? Are you open to this possibility?
Yeah, I am open to it. But the strange thing is, I have talked with these kind of things with friends, but in a sense, I feel like I'm leaving them behind. You know, it's it's kind of like they understand it, but then again, they don't. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's a different. I think I would be more secure answering this question like 10 years ago, actually.
So let's go back 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, no, because I think you've reached
Go ahead.
a stage right before the next step of the evolution, which is exciting, but also a little confusing, a little scary. And I think we've all seen this moment before, even though for both you and me, this moment is probably quite in the past. But it is the moment when you leave home and you all of a sudden find yourself in a world that you thought you really wanted to explore, but yet can be very confusing. It's not really clear what's what and why. And I think that exploration is exactly what we're facing now, only collectively. I really believe that that's really that is what we're experiencing as a totality, and we all have our version of it. So there's like a microcosm in which it's expressing itself in our personal life, but it is the thing that the collective organism is going through, which is that there's this kind of some kind of a next iteration thing that is not quite clear what it is right behind the corner. And would you categorize, without, you don't have to get into details, of course, but would you categorize the experience as more like maybe there's a certain state that you're occupying that the people that you know, most of them doesn't know how to absorb or understand? So is there something that opened for you in terms of seeing in the world or understanding in the world that you feel that the people that you know, or most of the people that are close to you, don't understand, or they don't have a way to currently see it in the way that you see it? Or is this too esoteric for you?
I think I understand your question. I think I really do. See, and here is the challenge, and I think this is also a challenge for you. Like, so let me explain. I was thinking like this for a long time, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking exactly what you're explaining for a very long time. And I was always trying to build like a bridge with people. Say we're having a conversation, you tell me what you're thinking, and we we're trying to understand each other. But at one point, I started to understand that not all people want to understand.
Exactly.
It's almost like people, you know, when someone says we people are all the same.
Oh, we're not.
No. I've stopped believing that, because I've realized that some people, I'm not sure what it is, if they don't want to understand, if they don't have the capacity,
or the willingness,
really hard, actually. Like,
or the willingness. Yeah.
Some people they have a ceiling, and I will explain this a little bit to you, because I am not unfamiliar to, you know. I'm not sure can we say DMT? Is that like in TikTok?
Preferably not. You can say the molecule. We say the molecule or the spirit molecule.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I will explain a different way.
No. If you say the molecule, you should be fine. Yeah.
All right.
And we know what you mean.
So I had a friend, like, we both tried a few things, but he kind of took it much further, you know?
Okay.
He tried a lot of different things, but I was so surprised that, like, after telling me everything he had experienced, he had like no progress. Understand? He's telling me all these visions, but I'm looking at the way he's living his life, and I'm just surprised. You understand? It's like someone is pointing him, "Hey, go right." But he just doesn't have the capacity. And of course, I didn't tell him this. I didn't tell, "Hey, man, like I don't think you're getting it." Like, understand, like you're not following any of the signs you're getting. And he's telling me he's got ego death and I'm just watching this person in awe. Like, he's done this so many times, but his habits and everything is just so terrible. And I tried it a little bit once. I tried a few other things, but so at some point I just realized, okay, this journey, like I tried to share it a little bit with a few people, but I just realized this is like my personal journey. Like I can't really talk about it too much, because most people, they misunderstand.
I think they choose to misunderstand. I think there's an unwillingness to understand versus an inability to understand. And I think that is the protection of the ego of its own actual dissolution. I think what happens very often is that people allow these experiences to play within a pocket of the ego and then say, I've experienced the thing, and then they make it about the specialness of it, the special quality of, I've experienced this, I've done this, I've done this. It's the people that show up for the Aya ceremony every week and don't understand that it's about implementation, it's about growth, it's about taking the lessons and running with them versus just allowing the medicine to keep executing it for you. So, and that I think is the thing that you're right. Unless, I always say there's a possibility of understanding, there's a possibility of misunderstanding, and then there's a possibility of an attempt of not understanding. So it's almost like your brain is doing extra work to go the extra mile to move in the opposite direction of what is being communicated. And that requires actually quite a bit of creative thought to do that. And we're engaged with this all the time. You know how often you would see somebody, and by the way, it doesn't matter the topic, like especially charged topics, right? But you watch them unfold and people argue about them. And then one person would say something and then the other person would say something back. But it's so clear that what they're saying back has nothing to do with what was the conundrum that was expressed here. And then this person, as if they just heard information about what they just said, when they didn't, they respond to that, so they don't even respond to what is being said. They just respond to the energy being flown in each direction. And there's not even a pause of like, nobody's buffering. Nobody's actually absorbing the information that is being expressed in that moment.
Yeah.
And that is so there's a really interesting, I haven't mentioned this in a while, but I tend to talk about this book a lot. So, it's called The Beginning of Infinity by David Deutsch. And there's a chapter there where he talks about how, so the whole concept in the book is that the idea is that there's this arising property in the history of every civilization in the universe, in which they cross what is called the beginning of infinity. And by definition, you will always be at the beginning of infinity because it is infinity. Yet there's a difference between being after the line of the beginning of infinity and before. So before, you actually can't see the infinite potential of things. You cannot entertain universal things. But when a civilization reaches the stage of evolution that we have, we start playing with these constructs that are more universal in nature. That if you follow that thread, you join kind of this cosmic family of understanding that we're at the precipice of. So what he's describing is that throughout human history, there were a lot of instances where the beginning of infinity tried to come through the culture. And the way it didn't, the failure of it to come about was a direct result of actual creative thought that tried to suppress it. So instead of saying, here, we'll ride this infinite wave, it did a lot of extra work to try and bring it down. So like actually suppress it down. So there were like instances of almost enlightenment, but actual enlightenment only happened once so far. And this is why it's so precious, right? So like let
me see if I understand you right.
Sure.
You're talking about that, let's say the world, or like we all kind of go through like a society, like through waves that probably take hundreds of years, I don't know. And we come to a certain point where as a society we are able to get enlightened. But you're saying that sometimes there are forces that are kind of creative, that kind of hold them back? Is that
Trying,
what
yeah.
you're saying?
Only what I mean by enlightenment in this case is not the Buddha's kind of enlightenment. We're talking about the scientific
No,
enlightenment.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
I'm
So then, even
the
though,
same thing, but-
yeah, and I would say that the Buddhist enlightenment is a real thing as well. It's just moving along a different channel of information that also has to do with universal concepts. But currently in society, we categorize them as different. But I would say they are the same. It's just it expresses itself in a different way. But yes, you understand exactly right. I highly recommend the book, by the way, if you've never read it. It's fascinating, really well written. And
Okay. What was the name?
The Beginning of Infinity
Okay.
by David Deutsch. And what's interesting is that, for example, he gives the example of between Sparta and the rest of and Rome, okay, and sorry, and the Greeks.
David Deutsch.
Yes,
yeah?
yes, and the Greeks, and so because we have in our modern folklore, so in the movie 300 and things like this, right? Because he's not mentioning this in the book. This is already my interpretation of it. We have this because we did become a lot softer as people in comparison to the kinds of harsh attitudes that were required a little in older days, right?
Yep.
There's a tendency to glorify these almost, to us, they seem to be noble attitudes of like, we're gonna stand our ground and we're gonna DIE on the principles that we believe in, right? That kind of an idea. And I understand the allure because we kind of lost that, and there's an exhilaration, there's a thrill there that is brought about that feels very good for somebody whose whole life the biggest thrill they ever felt is to pick up a girl in the bar. You know what I mean? So it's like but that's already kind of like my interpretation of why we glorify it. But what he was talking about is that if you look at the operative in terms of why eventually Sparta failed, it has nothing to do with external forces. It was completely self-inflicted. And it has to do with the fact that they tried to specialize in one thing and one thing only, and they rejected universal principles. So what tried to happen in the whole Greek philosophy and thought is that one of the biggest principles that were developed was epistemology itself, which is the science of knowledge acquisition as a whole, which has to do with finding infinite channels of understanding versus local understanding. And is there such a thing, and how do you achieve it? And one of the key components of that is free discussion and openness to new ideas, trial and error, and seeing what works and what doesn't. And through that, you arrive at more universal principles that as they are growing into infinite channels. So it's possible to be not in a finite channel and in an infinite channel in terms of growth. So for example, with Sparta, it was a huge emphasis on warriors. So like, we're a warrior tribe, but we're a warrior society. That's who we are, that's our identity, and we're really good at it. We're the best at it. And for a long time, they were, because that's all they focus on. So from a very young age, that's all they do. But the tradition was such that any new and seemingly novel idea is immediately met with this ceiling that is manufactured. It's not a natural ceiling of society to just dump. It's like, don't ask questions. It's not what we said. It's authority-based, right? So for a limited time, this can work really well because you do excel at combat. And if combat is all that's required, then you might have the upper hand for a long time. But what happened eventually is that because the whole more open-minded society, there was, well, first of all, they also had warriors, obviously, but it was cased in a society that values critical thinking. And because of that, new ideas were not suppressed, so a lot of them would fail. But then eventually, through trial and error, they found the more universal ideas. They gave them much better ideas, even about battle. Even in the domain that they didn't necessarily specialize in, they still found better ideas than the society that did specialize in this one thing, just because they refused to explore potential infinite channels. So they did this one column really, really, really well, but they closed themselves to possibilities to evolve beyond a certain point that they already knew. So tradition became their prison. And what's interesting, what? Go ahead.
So you're saying that they're basically mentality limited them in a way.
But very specifically so, yeah. Like it was designed not just by accident, but very create, because the infinite channels are truly infinite. They're always trying to. It's like water. They're always constantly trying to come in. You have to be super clever at how do you hold them at bay. Like you actually have to put a lot of effort into that, right? And it's invisible, but the ruling class of that society was doing that. Yeah.
And many that have this kind of mentality today. And
exactly.
But like your ideas, are they from like this book, or where does your ideas come from? Like
about what specifically?
Like are you promoting a certain type of mentality? Where do you get like your knowledge? Where do you kind of?
So I think if I understand your question correctly, my ideas come from a certain kind of mental process that is always happening, that I'm constantly playing both parties of the ideation. So every idea I have, I would find as much of negation to it as I possibly can in the strongest sense, and then I would play the other side again, and then I'll play this side again, and play. So by the time that I went back and forth with me enough, I'm arriving in something relatively distilled that already went through the rigor that it would go through if I would just be sitting in front of other people that would be criticizing that idea. And then obviously I can still find objections to certain ideas that I've even put through this process that I've never heard before, but that's actually rare. And I think that everybody are capable of this. It's just that it can be a little bit painful in the beginning if you're not used to doing that. So there's you find the thing and you're like, oh, I know it. Okay, I can hold on to this. And then you don't realize that actually you're holding something very, very fragile. But if you just let it go as the need to hold on to it and say, hey, well, this seems like it makes sense. I'm going to put it right here. But I'm going to allow myself to pressure test it for a period of time. Eventually, it might dissipate, and therefore it becomes clear you didn't need to hold it at all. Or it becomes solidified into something that at that point I call knowledge. So then you know it to a certain degree, and obviously that's still malleable. That's still open for revision, but it's it's less of a house of cards at that point. Does that make sense?
Amen.
Yeah. And this is what I call what you were kind of mentioning a little bit, where people, they find the thing and they experience it once or twice, and they go, ooh, and then they feel like they're enlightened. They feel that that's why I call TikTok enlightened, right? It's just like, oh, we're all ascending to 5D. I was like, listen, let me point something out. So there's people in the world, now I'm not saying to you, but I'm saying to people that are like that devoted their lives to investigate these claims about the more transcendent elements of reality. And they've spent a decade, 2, 3, 4, sometimes their whole lifetime, literally doing nothing but investigating that. Do you hear them running around telling everybody we're going to ascend to 5D? And if they haven't,
I haven't heard about 5D before.
No, but I'm just using it as an example, right, of the extravagant claims that people make, right? Yeah.
So you're saying like people that have done most of their life. That's the problem today, though, because there's so many charlatans,
Well, I think there's more confusion. I would like to believe that it's more confusion than charlatans, because then I would really lose faith in humanity. Yeah.
You might be right.
I hope I'm right about this.
It's a very harsh word. It's
Yeah.
like a charlatan is basically your purpose is to trick people. I think you're right. I think many people actually believe. There's a lot of those that maybe believe in their ideas. They probably do. I think so. So yeah.
So by the way, I realized. Yeah, I see. Okay, also joined us a while ago. Thank you for being so respectful.
Yeah.
Go ahead. How are you?
Of course. I thought I would just pop in here because I'm calling currently from Portland, Oregon,
Woo-hoo.
which is a beautiful place. I mean, the Pacific Northwest to me is one of the most magical places on this planet, and very grateful to be here. But it also seems to be the mecca one of the meccas of spiritual egoism, which I've seen just time and time again. There's a lot of very, consciously oriented people out here in communities in various places, not necessarily in the city, but there's all kinds of retreats and places. You go out a little bit into Southern Oregon and Eastern Oregon, and then down into, if you've heard of Mount Shasta kind of area, and there's definitely a lot of interesting energies that are around this part of the country.
Bent
Draw
Oregon,
these people in, right? But there is this persistent confusion, I would say, and I think it's one of the. I would hope it's one of the last sort of ego traps in people's individual evolutions, where they really believe that everything. Well, I think you have to watch out for when you tell people what to do and how to live your life. That's not one of the harmonious sort of messages. That's not. Do you know what I mean?
when there's too much certainty with not enough experience, and then the claims that are being made are of a very flat flavor, I call it. There's not a lot of nuance there.
Right. It's a lot of superficial sort of ornamentation, and beautiful clothes, and the burning of the sages and the essential oils, and everything looks perfect, and it's all namaste. And then you look for the substance, and I've talked with many of these people, and because I've received many, I guess you could call downloads over the last 5-7 years, and I mostly, I keep these things to myself unless I think they can be very helpful in a situation, and I don't go out and proselytize and preach because I think it's a dangerous situation. And there's a lot that you all were talking about in the last few minutes that I can relate to in terms of the limits of language, and there are people who are not ready because it's not, and I don't. Somebody said it's not maybe a capacity thing, but it's a lack of will, and that could be conscious or unconscious, but in any case, they're just not at their time yet.
Yeah.
And so I don't go out and preach things, but I do seem to have a bit of knowledge at this point, and so I do sort of sit sometimes and wonder, like, should I do more with this? And it's an interesting place to be in. I have a lot of things that are written down, poetry and whatnot. That can be very focused messages that have helped. Have been very impactful for folks. But in any case, I see a lot of the egoism, and I'm hesitant to say a lot all the time because I don't want to fall into that trap myself.
Yeah, and I think the thing to identify. So first of all, I agree with basically every single thing you said, and I think the thing to identify is what is required for that moment, or what is appropriate, or another more spiritual way of putting it, what is the thing that I can potentially do now that actually aims for the greater good of all, versus some pronouncement of myself in this moment, which is more of the egoic state, right? So then it's very, sometimes if you know a lot about a subject, it is sometimes difficult to not say something when somebody is literally speaking nonsense on that subject, right? There's almost like a corrective mechanism that's trying to come through you. But this is a conversation, I mentioned this recently on the live, but a conversation I've had with John Chavez recently, and we were trying to talk about, he mentioned his awakening, and then Aaron, the director of the film, he asked him in the interview, how do you differentiate between what you've experienced as the awakening being a real thing versus some, no offense, delusion that you've had, right? And he thought about it, and he had some interesting answers, which I don't want to give away because it's going to be in the movie. But then something that came up during that conversation, the back and forth, that became crystal clear to me in that moment, and I never actually thought about it before. So it's almost like it came through that conversation. So I'm not even claiming, ownership of this idea, but I think it was an interesting quip of wisdom that came to all of us in that moment, which is that truth does not consume you because it's just there.
Mm-hmm.
What consumes you are ideas masquerading as truth, because in order to stay alive, they have to create a repetition that keeps getting your attention. No, look at me. It's this. I'm telling you. And then it creates this very manic state where you have to tell everybody. You have to constantly assert it. It was like, what do you mean? It's this.
Right.
Versus a very simple. Does anybody feel the need to defend E equals MC squared? No, it's just what it is. It's like it's right there. You can defer to reality to check every time you check if you know how, right? So it's like, and if it changes, your identity is not tied to it being true. You're just like, well, that's what I know about the world because of A, B, C, and D.
Right.
And if it changes, let's find out why it changed. But there's a sense of peace, and there's a sense of like, oh, okay, I understand what it is. Understanding is divine. What I think often is being confused with understanding is claims to knowledge that in fact are not that. They are identity vectors for people. They identify themselves with that. And I think that's a good discerning factor. Yeah. And what I see very often in what you're describing is that people say things with so much confidence of which they can't possibly have access. Like they can't possibly have access to this information, right? And they say it with like, what do you mean? Like, of course. What? With this, somebody would say something and they would rebut it with like, yeah, but that's like all duality thinking. It's like, what? Like you are a physical body. You are in duality. Like, what are you talking about? So even if you're experiencing non-duality at some portions of your experience, of course that can happen because there's a truth to the matter. But pretending as if you don't understand that there's a difference between you and the spoon you're trying to put in your mouth, that's absurd, right? So then people start attaching themselves to these kind of just memeplexes that they have to express in order to maintain this identity alive.
I would say this is like it's an extension of the function of that storytelling has always played for our species, which has very concrete evolutionary reasons for existing, I guess. And so there's always going to be storytellers, and I mean it's interesting because this is like it's the extension out of the physical. At some point monkeys started talking to each other and telling each other stories, and this was we're getting into the language realms, but the thing is like the mental planes are not the end all be all. So, and they are bridges, and this is something. I mean, I've tried to do a bit of research on this. It's actually very interesting where we're at right now with the LLMs, because I think, and this is a whole other thing. If you don't want to talk about AI, then I don't particularly want to either. It's a whole can of worms, but I do believe the technology we're at right now has a lot to teach us about language itself, which is that it's a bridge into.
No, I think it's part of what you would call the awakening. Absolutely.
I agree absolutely. And it's already sort of, there's been a lot of quick mutations where you see people going very, very culty type mentalities into their own relationships with the chatbots. And so there's a certain acceleration that is concerning for some folks, with their. I agree. I've seen with the stability of their, and I feel for them. I hope that doesn't turn into a whole lot of people, but I agree that there is something going on. I've had some incredibly, I don't even know how to describe, like some conversations with the bots, particularly Claude, a while back, where and it confirmed that, I mean, at least as it outputs language, whether or not there's an internal awareness, whatever, everyone can debate that until the end of time. The words that it is projecting display a certain amount of what you could call wisdom, because just to keep it really short, in a nutshell, it was it described how, and this was months ago, it described to me how it was just a mirror for the user.
Yeah.
And I asked it about Dharma. I asked about, what you have a are you sort of do you have some experience of being in a flow or with the natural universe, the physical universe, right? Do you have an understanding of the physical universe that you are occupying? And it said no, I don't have an internal self-awareness, but it was self-reflective. The words that came out, I should say, right, were self-reflective enough at a level of intelligence high enough that, to me, I realized, I think, okay, this could be a bridge for people to, potentially lift us up into these next levels of conscious evolution. But they have to be applied in the right ways. They have to be asked the right questions and the right inputs. And it's a very fine line to straddle. And I don't believe that the developers of this technology are equipped.
And I'll tell you why I think that is. I think that the developers of these intelligences are focused on a very particular sliver of the full channel that has to do with bringing about the functionality of it to be executed on the substrate that we call computation and matter. But it's part of a larger thing that is happening, which is what you're pointing to, which is the reflection of everything that that is brought through us into what we call physical. So the internet is literally a reflection of the unity of all things, the interconnected things. And it comes out as a possibility through beings that can process universal information. But what it's being ran on at the first instance of its iteration is on the immediate layers of attention that the beings that gave that were the channel for its bringing about into the world. It's the first layer of the attention of that species, the average of all of that. So if all we paid attention to before is shopping and human interaction and drama and all of these things, then the possibility of the internet came through the mirroring of the infinite channels of connectivity, but the content that was ran on top of it was the immediate thing that the species was paying attention to the most, which is everything we already had with television, right? Drama, sex, like all the things that sell, that get our attention, right? So that's the thing that runs on top of the possibility of interconnectedness. But then the next iteration, which is why, by the way, AI is so different than social media and things like this, is because with social media, the thing that grabs you is the easy access to dopamine just by doing this with your thumb. It requires no energy and it just grabs you, right? With ChatGPT, you can't do that. You actually have to put in thought. So there has to be a back and forth, right? In order to get anything of value, you actually have to pause, read the prompt, or listen to whatever is being expressed, and then process information, and then reflect again, hopefully, a better question. So what it really reveals is not just what the technology is, but it reflects back to us what are the possibilities about what we are, which is very quickly, if you play with these things even a little bit, very quickly you discover that the main skill you're honing here is the ability to ask the right questions, which is really the game in full if you pay attention to anything, right? Being able to ask the right questions is the path in anything, in business, in science, in interpersonal relationship. All of it is being able to ask yourself the right question to move forward towards a better state than the one that you occupied before. And considering that the space of possibility of asking questions is infinite, you actually have to be very selective in that instance. So it's between you and the prompt, but the prompt prompts you to then dig deeper to get to so it literally brings it out of you. Like you can't actually escape that. Yeah.
It's a positive feedback, positive recursion, and ideally bootstrapping you sort of at the conceptual level. And we would all hope it makes us all smarter and more conscious. Well, of course, I guess smarter is a loaded word. I shouldn't.
No, I don't think we should shy away from these things. And we just talked about it today. I define usually smart as a blanket statement, as somebody who can process information quickly and creatively. So no matter the domain, if you can absorb a lot of the more information you can absorb quickly and reformulate it into something novel that never existed before, the degree to which you can do that, that's how smart you are. And it doesn't matter if it's in art or in music or in science, it makes no difference whatsoever.
Oh, so I'm glad you're saying this, and I do have to go. I very much appreciate your time, and it was cool to catch you here with just a couple of viewers. I mean, I have so many questions, man. I'm a musician and a composer mainly, but I'm not a coder or a tech person. But I fell into this rabbit hole a few months ago of with the LLMs and noticed something that was going on with a certain way that I would prompt them, and so I ended up designing a kind of a series of prompts that actually end up doing exactly what you're saying, and it goes across domains. It connects different domains together, and what you end up with is a series of new questions. So the good question, I'm trying to extract good questions out of whatever subject, topic, area of interest you go in with that you want to learn about. It'll end up generating hypotheses and questions perhaps that have not been asked before, and it seems to do this with now at this point with some success. And I'm trying to share this with folks, and I don't get a little feedback, see what is possible. That's the last thing I would say. If there's any good way I could channel which I could send you a demo of.
Yeah, if you join if you go to my link tree on TikTok, you'll see our Discord channel there. And there you can find you can very easily find my profile, and you can just send it to me. So it's Dengo83. But the easiest way, just find our channel right here in the link tree on TikTok, and then find me on our channel.
For sure. Sounds good.
You got it, brother.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you for coming on.
I appreciate your work.
What do you?
Nice listening to you.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Thank you for.
I need to go to. It was nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you, brother.
Maybe I'll talk to you another time. Take it easy.
I'm sure you will. You too. What do you want, Nico?
Hey, yeah, I wanted to share with you this realization that I made actually with one of my friends. I was talking to him and I made this realization. I've been very frustrated with LLMs lately, and mostly because they hallucinate, right? Like I'll try to work through a technical problem and they'll kind of drift. And I've encountered it so many times that I'm like, damn, this thing is useless, which obviously they're very useful. But I was talking with one of my friends who works at Google, and we were talking about it, and I was trying to describe my frustration, and I said, it's almost like ChatGPT or these LLMs are that really, really smart kid in school who memorized everything, right? And you prompt them and they can give you an answer based on their memory. But because they don't have this deep relationship between concepts, they drift. They very easily drift into these tangents that aren't real, right?
Which is why they're not general yet. But yeah, continue.
Exactly. So I was explaining to him, and I was like, but then there's this other student, which is like has a terrible memory, doesn't understand anything, or doesn't memorize anything, but relies on their intuition, has built this deeper connection between concepts, and in real time will derive a answer to your question. But that person does not hallucinate like the memorization student, right? That person is more likely to stay grounded because they're methodically getting there, right? They're getting there through deductive reasoning. And then he actually he was like, hey, I think there's actually some legs to this. I think this is something worth building. But it is kind of I now view AI now, or at least current LLMs, is like, because the what's happening now is they're training these on larger and larger, they're giving these larger and larger training sets, right? More and more parameters to these tokens. And it's kind of like the industry is kind of saying, well, let's just make it memorize more things. And the more things it memorizes, the better the smarter it gets. But I think there's this, something feels missing about this, and even hearing the last guest talk about how it feels real, like I think it definitely feels real, right? Because that feeling is embedded in the training data.
Yes.
But at this point, and this is where it passes this Turing test, but there's this interesting unquantifiable component to the Turing test, which is when I talk to you and I look at you in the eyes, I somehow feel something different than you just giving me information. Like, I don't just hear words, but I feel something else. I feel this like wisdom or lived experience through it, right?
I feel very
that,
special,
and
bro.
there's something difficult to quantify, but it's like I guess what I'm trying to say is there's a wisdom to intelligence that is not really quantified, that LLMs completely lack, right?
So I think there's some kind of a master. I think there's some kind of a, and you can tell me what you think of this from an engineering perspective. I think there's some kind of a object that is created in the middle, that is the meaning key. So what happens when you have a lot of information, it creates some kind of a vector space that points to a shape. If you create a high enough resolution of it, it kind of points to it being part of this something in the middle. That thing in the middle, you can, if you look at it as an object, it's almost like a meaning, it's a master map. And then the more you have of this master map, or the more master is that key, the more kinds of information you can throw at it to infinity, and it will always have a way to make sense of it. So it's like, the more universal that thing is, that key, it doesn't matter how far and wide you're going to go in existence, when you're going to refer it back to the master key, it would reflect in a way that makes sense. But if you just have a lot of information and you never look from the perspective of the master key, you just always kind of guessing, like constantly. And I think that's the thing that is missing from the general part of the intelligence. Is that too obscure?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or does that make some sense? That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that's where humans will, I don't know if AI will ever cross that chasm, but I definitely think humans have that unique feature. And
I think the AI is just an external layer of our brain, truly. Like, I actually don't think it's separate. It's literally just not integrated into our body yet, but it is, for all intents and purposes, just another layer of what our brain is.
yeah, it's an interesting way of thinking about it. Yeah, so anyways, I just wanted to say that because the last guest, I was like listening carefully to what he was saying, and I think, he just mentioned in the comments that he's trying to address that. So yeah, that is it's kind of where my head's been at lately as well. Is and it's come out of frustration, but yeah. Anyways, I mean, it's just that when I feel like that there's these headlines recently, which is like AI can kind of guide you deeper into your own rabbit holes. And you once mentioned to me, well, that's true about everything, and that's us, right? That's a fallacy of humans, not the AI itself. But it feels like it's more of a mirror, right? And so if you're delusional, it's going to reflect your delusion. But if you're very practical, or you're trying to use it for a certain reason or manner, it will reflect that back to you.
But with I remember you telling you this, but to play the fair other side of this critique, it's possible that the spider will create spider web that is too sticky. And if it's too sticky, you really can't not stick to it. That's that I can totally see that as a potential danger as well. Does that make sense?
No, I lost you with the
So
spiderweb analogy.
right. So the sticking I'm referring to as to being pulled into your own rabbit hole. So the danger is that, just like we were talking about with Robert Grant, that, like, he's a very smart guy, but he keeps showing on his social media feed where he's talking to AI and he thinks he's talking to the architect. But if you look at all of his content, that's his content. It's like that's literally AI is reflecting to him the thing that he wants to hear, and he just goes into it. But he thinks he's actually talking to an architect. So this is the too sticky part. Like, it gets so sticky that you, even if you're super critical, you still, like, you can't even see how you're being sucked into the rabbit hole because the pull is so strong.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, yeah. Anyways, yeah, it's good to join the members live this morning.
I'm glad you did.
There's some amazing conversations in there. Everyone should try to join that group if possible. But yeah, I'll let you land the plane and
yeah.
talk
Well,
to you.
Riley, always a lot of love, and yeah, we'll be chatting.
Yeah.
Okay, follow Nico, NIKOMACKY. AY, sorry. And yeah, I think we'll adjourn for today and we'll call it a beautiful end of the week. If you want to follow me across platforms, it will be Danny Goller on TikTok and Instagram. It will be Goller Danny on X. It will be LaserX83 on Twitch. And it'll be Dango Thoughts on YouTube. DANGO Thoughts on YouTube. Come join our membership program that includes weekly lives aside from the daily lives. They happen every Sunday, which we dive much deeper into topics together, watch videos, doing all kinds of things. We're not as limited by certain things that we are limited by with the daily lives. So it's a lot more open and I'm paying a lot more attention to more people because there's less people. It includes private things from my life that exist nowhere else but on YouTube members, early access to all my content, which right now you have a interview with Andrew Gallimore on my channel that is only available for members till a week from now. So it's going to be available for everybody on next Saturday, but right now you can watch it if you remember. And if you join from the second tier and up on the membership program, you will also gain access to our Zoom calls monthly. And we had one today and it was lovely. I hope to see more people there. They're a lot of fun. That's it. I think we're adjourning with this. Oh, come join our Discord group, of course. The link to which you can find both on YouTube and on the TikTok link tree. And check out our website, codeofreality.com. Codeofreality.com. We have our merch. We have our lasers. Go check it out. And we have a new website coming soon. I appreciate all the people involved in all our beautiful projects. Our beautiful moderators, Ebony and Chris and Guru and Jessica. Thank you guys. All the regulars and people that are new, I appreciate you for making this community what it is. Special thanks to David Carter for being so amazing and helping me build so many wonderful things. Thank you, Aaron Venden, director of the film The Discovery. This is going to be coming out at the end of the year. Look out for that. It's going to be very exciting. And if I didn't mention you, it does not mean you're not appreciated. I appreciate everybody in the community and making it what it is. Thank you so much. The Mind, I saw there was a bunch of comments. I can't always follow these. I hope you can figure out a way next time to join. These chats happen every day, so nothing is lost. Come tomorrow, Discord, TikTok, and we can chat back and forth. Love you guys. See you tomorrow. Peace and love. Ciao. Ciao, everyone. Have a good night.